making a soil erosion sediment control plan should be pretty easy. You should have, if you followed my instructions along the course, you should have all the pieces in place. And just like when we start any task, we begin with our X references, and I start with my X attach command. And there's my dialog. All right, hold on. There we go. And I go into my project folder, and I should have my base maps. I have my constraints, my ground, my key map, my parcels. And actually, I made a shortcut with all of that. And what I can do instead of X-roughing them is, if I made that, I can insert it as a block and explode it. Or I can go through and insert all my stuff. You hit OK. Again, we always use overlays with our references. Unless you really have studied these and you know what this attachment does, because it gets very dangerous. And you hit OK. And these are all my existing conditions that I'm bringing in. Zoom extents, and we see them. I now repeat the X attach command, and I go and bring in my engineering data. And with this, I want to bring in my site design, which is the 2D file, and my subdivision. And I hit OK. All right, I'm really just setting up that map. Again, this is where I'm showing you how we separate our sheet creation from our engineering and surveying tasks. Hopefully we have different staff to do all these different things. But we really want to keep our entire project all in one file, all our calculations and everything. Right? So I know my plan is going to be aligned along this property line. So I'm going to do a UCS. And I'm going to snap to one of these endpoints and one of these endpoints. And I'm going to go to quadrant 1 and hit return. And I'm going to use the plan command to bring my x-axis horizontal. Look down in that corner, my lower left corner, you see my UCS icon no longer has a box, a little box at the origin, which means that's a user coordinate and not world coordinate. If I want X to be horizontal to the screen, I use the plan command, which I just type in, and I say, use the C option for the current UCS. And it makes X horizontal. I will run UCS again and save this coordinate system as plot, whatever you want to call it. That's where I'm going to want all my text aligned to. And if I create text with this UCS set current, it's all going to be horizontal to my sheet. All right, I also know I'm printing at 40 scale, so I set my scale to 40 and regen to get any scaling changes that may occur. And the other thing I want to do is I need to show my limit of disturbance. So I'm going to go to my tool space. This. And I have my data shortcut set up. My working folder is set. And I can find all the information I shared. My erosion plan will need some EG contours to print gray. So I bring them in and I give them contours by layer, or perhaps there is an existing style in your template. You can use that. And I'll bring this over, show you, right, existing contours. Not design, existing, hit OK. And there's our existing contours. I now want to bring in the proposed. So I create a reference to the proposed grading. And the reason I want the proposed grading is because the limit of that grading is the limit I'm saying of where my bulldozer stops. It's my limit of disturbance. So the limit of that surface is the same as the limit of there, and I have a style set up that shows the contours and the border. If I bring that in, we have our proposed surface. I showed you last week that if you have my some of my styles, you may be able to automatically get that border to print as your limit of disturbance without drawing anything, just by changing the line type for the border. And you can make, or even choose your own custom line type. But I have one in mind for LOD, which is limit of disturbance. It's right here. Right, so just for the border in that style, make sure you're in plan. Change that, hit apply if you want to see it, and look, there's my limit of disturbance. All right, so I told you your soil erosion and sediment control plan needs to show a certain information. It needs to show the limit of disturbance. It needs to show silt fence around all sides except the high sides of your project. And we mean the high side in relation to the topography. And we do it not on the high side because we can allow water to run through. It's when water runs out through the sides and the bottom of our site that the erosion and silt can be displaced off of our site and clog up our sewers and streams, ponds, and whatever. All right, but we also need to show inlet filters around our storm inlets. And we need to show a stockpile. And we need to show a construction access, a stabilized construction access. So I have a lot of the information I need to really get all of that, right? My construction access, I can pretty much just draw a rectangle where my road's going to be. Maybe make a new layer, minus LA, new SC dash devices, soil erosion and sediment control devices. And I can put that object upon that layer. And I would change the color of that layer right now to begin with. I would change it to color green. Oops, cyan. And I'll make a new layer, and I'm doing this all up to command line minus LA, new SCSC dash LBL, text, ANO, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to set that layer current. And I want to, color 3 is what I want if I want green. And color 3 is what I want over here if I want it to be green. And And now because I have that UCS set down here, and I have my scale set down here, if I go to my annotate, I can create multi-liters. And I can use my annotative styles so that they print the correct size when I plot. I'm going to use a 0.1 here. These are callouts. I might even want to use something bold like Arial on here. I want 1, that's good. I just hit multi-liter from the nearest. And we give it a name. Stabilized construction access. And we get our multi-liter. And we can fix it up so how it's going to look. You might want to narrow the width of that a bit. And we may also want to hatch that. And we might want to use a different pattern. There is one, gravel. It's not the best, but it does work. Here we go. Gravel. There we go. There we go. Gravel. You probably want a scale, something like 5 or 3. There you go. There's a stabilized construction access. I'm going to make this layer current. And we don't want to put our stockpile downstream close to a riparian zone or our detention basin. And I want it relatively close. So I'm going to draw a circle upstream over here. I'm going to copy this guy from here to here to the nearest. And this is my stockpile. Control A selects all, stockpile. All right, now we need to show inlet filter around our site. You can draw a polyline if you want, wherever you need it. But I showed you that your surface boundary could be extracted from your surface. When you select the surface, you can extract objects from it. And we can bring out the border. Okay. And put a polyline there. And I can just offset that like 3 feet the outside. And change its line type. Instead of an LOD, it is silt fence. I believe I also have PSF for silt fence. So if you're looking, there you go. Silt fence. Now, am I going to have silt fence blocking my construction access? No. So I just either trim that line or break it where you need it. Right? So I'm going to break it there. This is high. I don't necessarily need the water there, the silt fence there. So this can all come out. This is all going straight down. They're probably going to want silt fence on the side. So let's break it again there. Break it here. Break a point. Break break that there. All right, so that silt fence is opened up. Limited disturbance is there. This silt fence, we're probably going to keep this going to about here. This is the high side of the road. I don't really need this piece down here. I'll show you that one there. We need it on the low side of the road, which is up here. And again, I can probably break this again somewhere here and over here. And now I'll do this in a different color so you can temporarily see. Let's go by layer. Put it onto our correct layer. Devices. This green LOD I don't need, it's a duplicate. And there we see that silt fence would be protecting, right? Rainwater would be falling from the bottom of the screen and then running overland up towards the top of the screen. So I'm preventing runoff off of here onto the side. In all honesty, I probably don't need this side piece here. And I can probably get rid of that because all this water is running this way onto my road, and I need to protect it off of here. And it looks like we could now do the same for down by our detention basin, offset that 3 feet. Erase the original inside LOD that I don't need because my surface is showing it. I can use my match properties, match this and this. And again, I can use my 1-point break command to break my silt fence and remove it from where I need it. Inlet protection, that's the last thing, right? We've got our stockpile, our wheel blanket or stabilized construction access, limit of disturbance, and silt fence. I have not shared my storm yet. I haven't laid out a storm. You guys should have your utilities data shortcutted. Let's see what I have in here. I don't think I saved my storm sewer work. I think I crashed and lost it. Not get back to it. But let's look at this real quick. All right, and here is our file. Let me freeze some information because I know where this is all draining. I know what is going on. And it'll make it easier for me to work with. All right, so I don't have a storm sewer in here yet. I've got my water and sanitary type network. I'm going to create a couple of parts real quick. Review this with you. All right, I'm making a new network. This is called Storm. Or maybe I want to call it Proposed. I use an appropriately named part list so I can choose my parts. I give it the surface I want it to connect to, and I'm going to use this because I'll be going off. And we can choose our structure styles, label styles that we have for all of this. And, ooh, I don't like my choices. Here we go. All right, I'm just going to use this for now. And my toolbar should appear. It allows me to place structures. Again, you guys will have odd named structures. You can just use the part description to change them all. But our road is high here, so I do want to send series of inlets. My RCP is not working, so I'm going to temporarily use HDPE. You should be using RCP. You can very easily change your pipe description to read HDPE. So I'm going to turn off that, and now I'm going to snap here. And now my pipe is working. We've got about another pipe in over here, another inlet. Let's do one more. I'm going to try to minimize. I don't know. Oh yeah, we'll make that. And then this guy might come either across or over. I'm going to go down so we have a decent run. My basin's over here. I would want the inlet to be roughly and maybe I'm going to be putting in a manufactured treatment device. Some of you did specify that. You could just use a manhole and change the description to read manufactured treatment device. And then I would probably end with a flared end section. Somewhere around there. And that's my pipe network. I would, of course, profile this to make sure it looked good. But right now, I just need to show you guys the SCD plan. We can go through this more in depth if you need, but this is all on YouTube, of course. This is nothing crazy. I don't like that single line style. I like a double dash. To the outer walls, and there we go. All right. So we have a storm sewer network set up. I would come to my data shortcuts and create a shortcut to that system. Again, this is my source file. And I want all the work done here for that. And we can go back to our SCD sheet. And we can bring that pipe network into our form. So here we are. And even though I'm not in world coordinates, the references will still come in. I should learn how to spell or at least type a little better. I'm bringing this network in. I'm going to give it the same part list. I'm going to override the surface reference with none, so it still knows it's original. And I'm going to include the labels that it had. And the pipe network should come in. Give the computer a second. Oh, look at that. It didn't come in the correct place, did they? All right, so undo. Let that be a lesson. Note your coordinate system. And you notice I don't have the little box in the origin. I type UCS, go back to world. Now in the origin we have that little box. That means you're in world coordinates. And now if we bring in our storm sewers, I can see where I need to place inlet filter. So again, last week we explained what all these devices are for and what they are. Inlet filters can be a number of things. I told you, from a series of hay bales, you know, in and around the inlet, or it could be, I bet those inlets came in last time. The layer was frozen. Zoom extents. Oh, wait. It's not coming in because I did not save this drawing. Control S. Now the network is actually defined. Now it would come in, and I'm betting it would come in with world coordinates too, but let's go back and freeze my surface layers so I can see what I'm doing. And my data shortcuts have changed. It'll tell me to synchronize, and hopefully they will reappear. I'm sorry. The computer is going as best as it can. And here is my storm sewer network. I come in here and I go all util, all, and might see it, proposed storm. Change the color to be green so it stands out a little bit better. And regenerate. Oh. Well, I didn't change the right layer color. That's all right. Color 3. And color 3. And there you go. So, where do I need inlet filters? On all my inlets.
Professor,
Yes.
we can't see your screen again.
Oh no. Did that just start?
Like half a minute ago. We can only see there's a bar on like the left hand side. A tall bar. It's like grayed out. Looks like one of the like a sidebar or something.
No better, right?
No.
Let me go back into my meeting. And hang on a second. Why am I sharing two applications? That's any better?
No, it's the same.
And you're seeing the top half cut off?
No, the whole thing's just gray. And then it looks like there's like a window on the left hand side that's also like grayed out, but that looks like that's causing the problem or something, maybe.
Is everyone else seeing the same thing? Ooh, yeah, someone sent me a message at 7-Eleven.
Yeah, there's nothing on the screen right now.
hang on a second. Maybe something happened with my video card. Let me save this. Because I think my video card changed settings. All right, you know what? Time for a 10-minute break. I will end this session and restart it, and we'll meet back in 10 minutes, all right? I think you all got that.